right. Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, and review. This whole microphone's driving me nuts. I can't find my hat. Oh, I found my hat. For those of you who know, I have to wear a hat. Very sensitive to light with my Asperger's syndrome. And then I got these blue glasses. I think I'll leave them handy just in case the blue light gets me. I don't know. Come to think of it, I look really dorky with the hat. Maybe I'll try the glasses. I should probably do this modeling thing before the show. We'll go with the glasses. They look sharp. Anyways, I'm very excited for this guest, guys. Subscribe, review, follow us on Apple Podcasts. Help us get those reviews. We're doing pretty good. We're at 109. I'd like to get to a lot more, but they say that only 10%, they say not even 10% of people listening or watching review stuff. They say that that's like a 2% thing or whatever. I don't know the exact numbers, but hey, if you got time and you like this episode, just give me one more minute and write a review on the Apple Podcast. Say you like it, say you don't like it. If you say you don't like it, at least give me some constructive criticism so I can learn to get better, That's what I want to do. Anyways, today I have a great guest. I'm very excited to talk to him. You know him from Boy Meets World. You know him from Cabin Fever. I know him from Boy Meets World, but I also know him from My Giant and this TV show called Pepper Dennis. He was very, very funny on it. The great Ryder Strong is going to be here via Zoom, and I'm excited. So if you're excited, I'm excited. All right. Rifters, subscribe, rate, review, and enjoy Reza Rifts with Ryder Strong coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Rifts with your host, Keith Reza.
Hi, Ryder Strong.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good, how are you?
All right.
Thank you for doing this. I appreciate you.
Of course. Do you want me to record on my end at all, or?
Hey, if you want it for your records, I got it on my thing. So.
All right. No, as long as you got it. I just didn't know if you wanted the separate file or what.
This is a cool little library you got behind you.
Yeah. I finally got my own little office set up in my house and was able to put my nonfiction books behind me. So this is my nonfiction collection. My fiction and poetry is elsewhere. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I like poetry too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. How many books a day do you say you would say you would read, or is it
a day? Like it's dropped a lot. Like I used to read like crazy, but like everybody else, I feel like during the pandemic, I just sort of like lost the ability to focus and read as much. So I'm finally getting back into like, I usually read like 5 or 6 books at a time, over the course of, at any given moment, I'm like jumping from book to book. But I wouldn't say I finish a book a day, but definitely like probably a book a week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to read when I read a book, I have to finish the book before I could go on to a different book because my mind stays in that story. So if I'm reading 5 different books, I'd be like, I get James and the Giant Peach confused with Cat in the Hat.
Totally. And that definitely has happened to me. But I tend to read like, one poetry, one nonfiction, one fiction, so I can kind of keep them separate. But like, yeah, right now I'm reading this giant book because I was just in New Zealand, and there's this New Zealand author who I'd never heard of, and I went and bought her book that came out in like 2013, and it's 900 pages, takes place in like the 1860s, and then I'm also listening to this nonfiction audiobook about it was called The Wager. It's about this famous boat disaster.
Right.
And like, because that one takes place, it's nonfiction, but it's all about the 18th century. And like, now I'm realizing, oh, these two are too close. They're like too similar. So I'm like confusing my characters. Like, which book am I in? So that's definitely a case of that. But no, normally I can keep them apart.
Sometimes I always wonder, like, if you were reading like a book in the 18th century, like if you were alive in the 18th century and they're reading the same books, like, is that the style they had? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, thank you so much. I know you from the television and stuff,
Hmm.
but I also know you from something else that I don't think a lot of people know you from. But I saw you at a screenwriting seminar like 2 years ago,
Oh,
and
right. Yeah.
yeah, and you were saying that you taught screenwriting, and
Hmm.
I'm a student of screenwriting, so like that's why I'm like. I was so fascinated with you. So like
Yeah.
that. So yeah. Well. So yeah. How's the
Awesome.
screenwriting
Thanks, man.
teaching going?
Good. Yeah, I just finished up last semester. It was a big class. I had 85 students,
Wow.
which was a little too much. uh, like I like giving feedback. I like giving as much actual one-on-one feedback or at least on papers and stuff. And so having 85 students it was a little much. And the biggest downfall is just that my own writing took a hit. Like I didn't have
Yeah.
time to get my own work done. So I'm taking this semester off. But yeah, it was like I was in New Zealand still like I was in a camper van with my wife and my son, and like while my wife is driving, I'm still for hours just responding to final papers and giving feedback. Um, so it was a big semester, but it was good. Like with that many students, it's a bummer. It's mostly just lectures and showing movies and talking.
Right.
And I don't get as much feedback like with the students. And no one comes to office hours. It's such a bummer.
Oh my God.
I guess kids are just busy. They got a lot of classes, and so I didn't get that much like actual contact with the students. But I did get a lot of positive feedback. Like at the end of the class, I had some kids come up and give me candy and say thanks for a great semester. And so I wish there was a little bit more feedback. So I think if I will keep teaching because I love teaching, but I really want to teach in smaller classes. I'd love to have like 20 students where I actually get to know everybody and talk to them. And that kind
Yeah.
of feedback is just, it's the best. Like that's really the teaching I want to do. Being a lecturer is a little, it's been good to like organize my thoughts, and I've been building a stable of lectures now, which is cool. But the experience is not the same as teaching a smaller class.
Yeah. I mean, I think I want to go to wherever you're going and be a student because I go to OCC.
Hmm.
I've taken screenwriting like 20 times, and it came to the point where like the teacher was like, "Hey, why don't you just assistant teach since you know this class, and
That's
I'll
so
go
cool.
do my thing." So I was assistant teaching, and the teacher ended up getting fired.
Whoa.
Yeah, because he just left. I was like, "Oh well," So
Oh
yeah.
wow, not a great teacher.
No, I thought he was the best teacher because
Really?
I liked doing that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But I wanted to pick at your head about because I had
Hmm.
two screenwriting questions, if I
Yeah,
may.
of course.
And I know everyone's writing style is different, but I was wondering, how do you write flashbacks, and do you like, does it like because there's no real actual formula for that? You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah. Interestingly, I've kind of come to the mindset, um, and I try to never write flashbacks.
Yeah.
I think it is a trap. Um, and I've gone over it, and I've definitely had to put them into stuff I've written, because sometimes you need some back information, but I really don't like them. I think that they're a crutch.
Oh,
And
for
I think,
sure.
yeah, and
Definitely
I
a crutch.
Right. It's sort of like, there's a lot of like another old school like screenwriting book rule is like don't use voiceover, right? And it's like they're similar in that they're dangerous for young writers or for when you're starting out writing. If you rely on voiceover or you rely on flashbacks, I think what you're really talking about there is point of view, right? And like
Right.
whose point of view is the movie in? And I like the challenge of trying to make a film sort of obviously a film's going to have a point of view, and obviously you're going to have not obviously, but you're probably going to have like a protagonist or a main character that the audience is going to identify with. But I like trying to stay with the form, um as it is, which to me, film, what's so beautiful about it and what's so great, distinguishes it from fiction or poetry is that we don't get to go inside people's heads. You know,
Right.
we're sort of given an objective reality, and we have to sort of um that's the world that you get as an audience. And so I think the struggle of staying as objective as possible is a really good struggle for a screenwriter to have. So I would encourage to just avoid flashbacks, avoid going into characters' heads with voiceover, with flashback, and let the point of view develop from an objective place where the audience is drawn into a character because of the weight of the story or because of the empathy you feel for the person. I think that's a great challenge to have. Obviously, you can't always, like, I mean, I would never say have a rule like no voiceover, no flashbacks, but I try and avoid them because I feel like they're manipulative. You know, I do
Oh,
think
for
that
sure.
it can be easy. And then what I really can't stand is like fake flashbacks. You know, like I feel like that's a cheat when you're watching a movie and somebody is like, "Oh, I might misremember something," and then it cuts to, you know, something, and then it gets revised later on in the movie. I'm always out. I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
this person didn't know how to make that." You know, no, keep
Like
it
the
as
Saw
objective.
movies.
Yes, I don't know. I hate fake flashbacks. Don't fake me out. I don't. Why do you ask about flashbacks? What do you like flashbacks
I
or
I actually 100% agree with you, but
okay?
the piece I am writing is because I made a joke about the Saw films. I love the Saw films.
Uh-huh.
I'm actually writing kind of something that same tone where I do need a flashback, but my biggest
Yeah.
problem is like when you're trying to pitch it or whatever and the assistant PA is reading it, I need them to know it's a flashback without just
Right.
saying flashback. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. I
That's my
mean,
struggle.
yeah. I mean, if it's just a formatting thing, like for as far as like readability, I would just say put flashback. Like I don't care, you know. Like when you say like in literally the scene heading, the slug line, I would just put because I don't know. Or you could do the thing where you just put it all in italics. Like they do that in television scripts a lot. Like when they're using
Italics. Oh,
flashbacks, yeah, they italicize the entire scene, just so you know you have the feeling. Because a lot of times when
that's
you're
not real, right?
yeah, or
Okay.
just that it's a memory, you know, that it's something else. Because a lot of times in the stylization, like the director will actually make it very obvious that it's a flashback, either by sound design, you know, like there'll be a white flash as the person remembers something, and then you're in the memory, or the way the memory looks will be a different lighting style. Like there's ways to stylize flashbacks, and they do this in television a lot to make it very obviously, oh, we're in a either in a dream sequence or a flashback, we're in someone's mind. And so I would say to make if you want it on the page to be as obvious as that, just do it. Like, you
Yeah.
know, because you want I always talk to my students, well, not always, but like I definitely have been uh, like trying to get to this idea of recognizing that what you're writing, it has to function as a text first and foremost. You know, like I feel like so many of us get into screenwriting because we like movies. And then what we do is we try and like envision a movie in our head, and then we're like typing that out and like transcribing it. And that's like where it all starts. But we also have to remember that actually it still is just a text that somebody's going to read. And so you want it to be as sort of easy to read and fun to read as possible. And that's sort of like a secondary screenwriting lessons. I feel like first you got to learn some basics of story and whatnot, but eventually you want to get good at just presenting the text as quickly and efficiently as possible so that you can, sell the script or get the money to make the movie. It's got to be fun to read. And
Yeah.
so like, the rule that I've heard before that people have, thrown around in the industry is you write one movie, you shoot another, and then you edit a third. And I think that's very true. And so my final lecture, like in the class I just gave, I sort of emphasize like as much as you're going to be, starting from a place of like, oh, the movie that you want to make in your head, at at some point you got to recognize that you're just writing a script and that you just have to get the movie sold or the script sold as a text. And so I say keep it as easy as possible. Just keep it as quick reading, keep it under 110 pages if you can, and make
Right.
it fun as a text. And don't worry so much about the actual form it's going to take as a finished film, because that's so many steps away from where you are right now.
And it's probably gonna get cut 1,000
Oh,
times
so
too.
many things are going to change. They're going to
Yeah.
hire other writers probably. like,
That's what happened to me is I
yeah.
sold my first film and then they fired me instantly. And
Yep.
then when they released it, nothing I wrote was in the thing. So I was
Right.
like, so
Right.
yeah.
Or even worse, sometimes people end up with a credit, but not a single word of theirs is. It's like, yeah. Well, that's great. You sold the script, man. Good for
Yeah.
you. Yeah. I mean, I've been a working screenwriter and sold scripts, and nothing's ever actually been made.
Yeah.
And it's like that's just the depressing reality of the screenwriting life.
Yeah, and like I also tell like I did have one more screenwriting question, but I also
Yep.
say like the even like blank pages, like the blanker the page is probably better because each
Hmm.
page is probably $10,000 just to shoot. So like
Right.
you know what I mean? So
Yes.
like
Keep it
you want to
moving.
keep it
Yeah.
crisp, you know?
Yeah, no, blank. Yeah, I agree, man. Like I never like action lines over 3 or 4 lines on the page.
Yeah.
When I open up a script and somebody's written like that, 3/8 of a page just to describe what the room looks like, I'm out. I'm like, nope, you're
You're
taking too
like
much of my time.
give it to
Yeah,
someone else.
exactly. I'm like, I mean, maybe it's a great script and maybe it's a great movie, but I want to read it fast. I want to know
Right.
where we're at, what's going on, and if you can just, tell me a story. You
Yeah.
know.
And then my second screenwriting question for you is, do you have advice on like how to write car chase scenes? Because that is
Very
very
hard.
tricky because
Yeah.
the interior is
So
the
physical.
car. Yeah. So,
Yeah. God, I would like one of the coolest scripts I ever read, really, I loved. I was like 18. And I mean, I just had the benefit when I was a teenager of being an actor and getting scripts a lot, so
right.
I got to read scripts, and that's one of the things that I think a lot of screenwriters or people that want to be screenwriters don't get a chance to read scripts. So like I always encourage just read as many scripts as you can, especially ones that aren't movies that are great. Because
Right.
a lot of times you're just going to Google like Coen Brothers films or whatever, and you can find those scripts online, but those are the great ones. You want to read some bad ones, or you want to read some ones that never got made too, to just learn like how many different variations there are out there. Anyway, one of the scripts that I read that I really loved is a movie that got made. I've never seen the movie, and I guess I auditioned for it, although I don't remember the audition. But it was a movie called Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, okay.
You
Yeah.
remember this movie? It
Nicholas
was a
Cage.
big,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It was a big movie, and I think at the time I must have gotten an audition for one of the smaller parts in that movie. But I loved the script so much. It was a big mainstream, action film, and so it was one of the first that I read like that. And they did this hysterical thing where in the script they had all these car chases, and every time it went to a car chase, they just said, "We're not going to write this car chase because we're going to let the director decide it." And I remember being like, "That's kind of badass. Like, just
Oh, yeah.
say we don't have the control over this." I forget who it was. Two guys who wrote. They're famous for screenwriters. I think I
I'm
can't
gonna
remember.
write that down.
Yeah, but then here's the kicker. Then they got to the third act, and there was a big chase in Boston, I want to say, and they were like, "Okay, we haven't outlined the car chases, but this one's important. We're gonna go beat by beat." And they had mapped out where everything was happening on which streets and they had actually. So it was like in some ways they kind of had their cake and ate it too. They admitted that it doesn't matter what they write on the screen on the page for a car chase, because it really is going to have to do with budget and location, all these things that you can't control. But then they also took the time to map the final car chase out beat by beat to sort of say, we can do this, and we want to show you how this movie is going to function with the car chases. So they did it, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. But and it goes back to the same point I made earlier, which is they were thinking of their script as a text. They were thinking of
Right.
it as something that somebody has to read and then decide to give money or act in or direct or all, you have to get hundreds of people to get behind your script. So if you think about it that way, whatever's going to work, and if that is cheating and saying, doesn't matter what I write because director's going to change all this, then do that. That's
Right.
fine. Or if you really do have a specific thing that you want to have happen in a car chase, just do that, but do it efficiently. Do it as simply and as clearly as possible, and also recognize it's probably not going to be the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, car chases. I really hate writing action sequences in general. And what I've realized is that I can't get too physical. Like I get, if I get too into the geography of like where people are in a room during a fight or where the cars are on the street, um I get too in my head, and it like doesn't help. Because
Right.
then I get
Yeah.
obsessed. I'm like, well, then he swerves to the left, but we already took a right. No, like it's better to think of the beats less as like storyboards and more like uh words on a page that are gonna pop. So it's like, and then slam. The car flips over. You don't have to describe like where it flips. Just make sure that the effect of beats on the page, like you were saying, with the white space versus the action lines, like if they have the effect of like an experience of a car chase, you're doing your job,
Yeah.
like that. Then you're doing your, because it's like the stream of consciousness of like reading this thing and flipping the pages and being like, oh, that happened, and then so you do want clearly delineated beats, but it almost doesn't matter what they're doing physically, I guess,
Uh,
if that makes sense. Yeah.
well, thank you so much. That really
Yeah.
does help me as
Oh,
a writer. So like
yeah.
I'm sorry we started on that, but
No, I love it, man. I
uh
love geeking out on this stuff.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now we'll go into the TV.
All right.
So you were on a sitcom before Boy Meets World where Julia Andrews was your
Oh yeah.
mother.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It was
Like,
amazing, man. It was a great job. Taught me so much. That's like kind of how I came into Boy Meets World, knowing what I was doing, because I hadn't done anything. I had done theater, but it was, Julie was amazing. She was so sweet, so wonderful to be around. Unfortunately, her husband, the late great Blake Edwards, who is an incredible film director, he's a legendary film director, directed every episode of the show, and he had never done television before.
oh my
So
gosh.
he had no idea how sitcoms worked. And it was really interesting. I mean, not that I did really, but I could tell that it wasn't going well when we were like 4 or 5 weeks over schedule immediately. Like we went, he just, because television sitcoms, you're directing them basically like theater. You're sort of just you're just telling the actor, you're setting the blocking, and then you kind of like, you let the writers rewrite the script a bunch of times, and your job, you're sort of like a traffic cop is the way I've heard it called, as a director. But he was a film director, so he wanted to be in there and deciding all these comic beats, and he would just spend way too much time on stuff that didn't matter.
Right.
So it was kind of a disaster in that regard. But I loved working with her. I learned what sitcoms were. I had, I mean, I just felt like I had won the lottery. I thought that show was going to go forever. Like
Uh,
I got the part on that show, and I was like, oh my God, Julie Andrews, ABC, at the peak of ABC. It just seemed like this is a slam dunk. I'm going to be on this show forever. Got canceled, only aired like 6 episodes. So then I think it was a year and a half later, I got Boy Meets World, and I was like, this show's not going to last. uh,
if the
I was
Julia
already like
Andrews one didn't
super.
work.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, this Ben Savage show, like what? This is nothing. And then 7 years of my life later. So yeah,
Yeah.
it sort of weirdly set me up to be kind of cynical about Boy Meets World.
Oh my god! I thought it would be cool if like when you were filming scenes with Julie Andrews, she'd be like, "All right, now Ryder, just want you to know this is not going to be like Mary Poppins."
Oh man, yeah,
But
I was such a huge fan. She was the best. She was
oh
so kind and fun to be around and just relaxed. Yeah.
yeah. And then we talked about the moms, and now we should talk about the dads. Your dad on Boy Meets World was the great Blake Clark,
Hmm.
who is I don't know if you know, he's a phenomenal stand-up
Oh,
comedian.
genius. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I know him a little and he's a great
Yeah.
guy. And I
Yeah.
wanted to know what was that like because
It was
he's
great.
yeah,
What's interesting about Blake is I think he and I bonded like immediately. We always got along, and we actually got pretty close because he had never done drama before.
right.
And they ended up killing his character. He died on the show on Boy Meets World and came back as a ghost. And he and I ended up having these very emotional scenes where like I'm crying and talking about how bad of a father he was. And I remember during one run through, like he started crying during the run through, like while we're doing it for the producers, and he came up to me afterwards and was hugging me and was sort of like that was really intense, because he was used to working on Adam Sandler movies and like
Right.
Shakes the Clown and like kind of always being the goofy guy. And I think he really bonded with me because we had these vulnerable, dramatic moments. So as funny as he is, and as much as I think he's hysterical, and obviously he's very comedic in his own life, I think he and I really bonded over the drama. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Like drama just seems like something he'd be very phenomenal at because he I don't know if I maybe I might need to edit this out, but he does have post-traumatic stress disorder because he was
Yep,
in the war and stuff. So
exactly.
I know he has like like sometimes he used to call me and be like I was like, whoa,
Oh, he's got darkness, man. No, it's
yeah.
real. Like, I mean, I think that's so much of comedy does actually come from darkness. It becomes a way to like cope or a way to respond. And I think he's one of those guys that's always kind of on because it's like
Exactly.
that's where he's always got to be on. But I think that yeah, if he had ever been given the chance as an actor to do more drama, I know he would have thrived at it. It just doesn't happen. You kind of keep getting cast as what you've already done. That's just the way the industry works. But I think he's a phenomenal actor, full stop. I think he could do anything,
Yeah.
and I think like he got a little moment on Boy Meets World where he did, and it was so great. He's a legend.
And
Yeah.
then like on Boy Meets World, like I've noticed like in the earlier seasons, I haven't seen the show in a long time. I feel Boy Meets World too, because like when Disney put it on, it kind of gave it more of a hey, we're back type of feel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I remember that the jokes in the first couple seasons were a little risque for kids, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I remember in the third season, the jokes got more sharper, especially
Mm-hmm.
towards your character.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I was like, how did you notice that while you were filming it, or
I think we just got older, like I think they just figured out we all just kind of knew what we were doing by the third season.
yeah,
So it just got better. Although I don't know, I mean, I watched the first season and it's a different show. It's a very different tone. Um, but it's good. But it's very different. And then yeah, second season, uh, just it seems like they didn't know what to do with the show. It's like they brought in the bullies. They brought in Blake as my dad at one. It just kind of like went in a bunch of different directions, and then I feel like third and fourth season Boy Meets World really became the show that it became. And we knew who our characters were. I mean, they didn't know what to do with my character for so long. It seems like they played him as like this dumb guy and kind of goofy, and then like
the
I don't
bad
know,
boy.
and then the bad boy, and then like I became the source of so much emotion on the show and so much drama, and then it was like, oh, let's make him an alcoholic, let's throw him in a cult, let's kill his dad. So yeah, and I now that I'm watching the show for the first time, really, when we're doing our podcast, I'd never watched it. It does seem like we kind of peaked in the third and fourth season. I'm curious, like, because now I feel like my character, unfortunately, they really stopped writing funny stuff for Sean. And now I'm just all drama all the time. So I have a feeling I'm not going to like season 6 and 7 as much as I've enjoyed the rest of the show. And I remember that happening. Like I remember, I didn't really like comedy that much.
Right.
I just was more of a dramatic person. I wanted to be a dramatic actor. And that's a little too bad because I look back on it and I'm like, those first 4 seasons, we were funny, and it was fun. But everything sort of steered more towards the drama side for me.
Yeah, because I remember watching it. I was like, oh my God, I wish Sean was my best friend. Like he's funny, he's cool.
Yeah.
Like Clark's his dad. You know? But
Hmm.
I also wanted to ask you like how is that feeling though as an actor though? Because you said that, you got the vibe that, they started making your character less funny, more drama. In a way, I understand what you're saying because I do stand up and I always
Mhm.
want to do the jokes and stuff. But as an actor, I would feel that's actually like the best present they could give you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it felt good. It felt yeah. I I think the bummer for me is that now I would much rather do comedy.
Yeah.
Because comedy is just more fun. Like when you're sitting around with your fellow actors and your director and you're just trying to like, oh, how do we make this as funny as possible? Like that's a fun activity. There's like there's a pressure there. It can be high pressure, it can be high stakes, but it's all towards the goal of like how do we make each other laugh? How do we do something that I think is funny? And but you're right. At the time, I just wanted to like stretch my acting chops and be and in retrospect, I'm like, why? Like, I feel like doing comedy is probably the hardest thing to do. And so now I have so much respect for comedians and being a comedic actor and, it takes balls, man. Like, and I think that that's way more interesting. But, as a teenager, I just wanted to be Marlon Brando. So,
Well,
I was very happy that they were writing all this drama for me at the time, but now I look back and I'm like, ah, I should have just done more comedy.
Uh, well, hey, if I ever get a sitcom, like if I ever become big and they give Keith Reza his own sitcom, I'm gonna say my best friend on the show is Ryder Strong.
You got it,
It'll
man. I'll
just be
come.
Ryder Strong, and we'll
I'll
make
just be playing
jokes.
myself.
Yeah, we'll make jokes, talk about
Yeah,
screenwriting.
totally.
But I wanted to ask you too, because Will Friedle is so good in that show. Like I don't know if you've ever seen this movie called My Date with the President's Daughter.
I actually haven't seen it, but
Oh my
it's
God, he
legendary. Yeah,
he
he's
is
genius.
so great in
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I noticed in Boy Meets World too, they kind of dumbed down his character while they were
Hmm.
bringing up your guys' character.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I mean, Will is just a legend. Like he is so funny, and I think uh, I think they just couldn't believe how bottomless his comedic talent was.
Yeah.
And I think again, almost to their detriment, they just ran with it, and made his character such an absurd cartoon character by the end of Boy Meets World, um, that I think it kind of went off the rails. But Will's talent, I mean, he's one of my closest friends, and I've always known he was good, but just within the last year watching Boy Meets World for the first time and getting to season 4 and 5, like he was just he's just so good.
Yeah.
And at such a young age, the fact that he was like I think he was 17 when he did My Dates with the President's Daughter, and or maybe he was a little old, 18, but just like a fully evolved comedic actor who could do anything.
Well,
And
you get
yeah,
that sense from him,
yeah,
especially if you saw the President's Daughter one. Like I'm
yeah,
telling you, I mean, it's a little cheesy kids movie, but
right,
you can't watch it like that. You have to
yeah,
watch it for the art, and he's
right.
phenomenal in
He's
it.
phenomenal, and that a big thing, and also just a totally handsome leading man. Like
Yeah,
he could, like, and I think the problem with the industry back then, um, like if that happened now, like if somebody like Will had the talent that he did at the age of 18, 19, 20, he would be like the biggest movie star in the world.
he'd be like
Um,
Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, bigger. Yeah, because he was younger. He's like, he would have been, yes. But back then, Boy Meets World was relegated to a kids show. My Date with the President's Daughter was on Disney Channel. These, or maybe that was an ABC movie of the week. Either way, like, um, we were not getting picked for the big leagues. Like nobody was looking at, like, being on television back then was like a secondary status. Then being a kids TV show was like a third tier status. Um, and in that's just too bad because like he had the chops and he's so funny and he could do anything. And like I said, he had the looks and he was the whole package, but nobody was sort of plucking him out of that those minor leagues and putting them on out there, which is too bad. That's
But
it's the industry's
you
fault.
you also have the package too, because I don't remember the name of this movie, so I do apologize.
Hmm.
But you did this movie with Jason Weaver, and it was like a
Oh yeah.
Freaky Friday type
Yeah, it
of
was
thing.
yeah, summertime switch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you were great in
It's
that.
no, I'm not. It's not good.
No, I loved it.
Thanks, man. No, that was like right between first and second season of Boy. Yeah, we rewatched that for our podcast.
Oh,
It's
did you
not,
really?
yeah, it's not a great film by any means. But I had fun making it. But yeah, no, I mean, I did. That was exactly what I did not want to be doing, like doing comedy. I was so insecure. Which again,
But
like
you
in
were so
retrospect, like,
good at it.
well, thanks, man. I should have. Yeah, for some reason, I just didn't think of myself as a comedy person, which is so funny because primarily what I'm known for still to this day is a comedy show. So, but
Well, I also know you from Cabin Fever, which
yeah,
is a horror film,
yeah,
and like what was that like dynamic as an actor? Because I was that your first horror film that you
yeah,
actually did?
yeah. And I loved it. No,
Yeah.
I love horror. So for me, that was a dream come true. Um, I, I just, yeah, I mean, I read that script and immediately I was like, this is going to be so much fun. And I, weirdly, even though it was a tiny movie, I mean, we made that movie for like $1 million, just over $1 million, independent, no distribution, no studio. And but I read the script and I was like, this is gonna do well. This has got all the things that a script needs. And I could tell the tone, because Eli Roth is just such a madcap director and he's
Oh, he's
so
amazing.
and yeah, and he was only 26 at the time and he was sort of coming out of nowhere, but I could tell on the page that something was there that hadn't been in horror for a while, which was this sort of over the top blood and cynicism. It's really like a sort of cynical comedy, but like dark. And when I met Eli for the audition, it was just immediate. I was like, oh, I get you, you get me, this is going to be fun. And then he called me like 3 weeks later to tell me I got the part. And he was like, he's such an insane person. I'm sure you've seen interviews with him where he just talks so much and he's got all these ideas. And he's just like, Ryder, I can't wait to cover you in blood like Sissy Spacek at the prom. We're going to have you covered in blood and we're just going to be running through the woods. This is going to be so much fun. And I'm just like, yep, this is going to be fun. And it was a blast. The thing about that movie is like it's very funny, but in this weird way that's so off-putting. You're just never sure if it's like being, I love that stuff. I love cult dark comedies. I love weird tones, and Eli's a master of weird tones, and that movie's still weird. Like I do these conventions with Will and Danielle, and they're mostly conventions for Boy Meets World fans. And like every like 100 person that comes up to me will be somebody like I'll just be able to spot them from like, a mile away. I'm like, they're not a Boy Meets World fan. They've got the tattoos, they got the long hair, and they come up and they're like, hey, I know you were in Boy Meets World, but and I'm like, Cabin Fever. They're like, yeah, Cabin Fever. And it's like, there's like a certain, and then I finally did a horror convention for the first time last year with Eli and the rest of the cast. And it was so fun because it was such a different world than like the Boy Meets World scene. And I love the Cabin Fever fans. Like they're just the craziest people ever. They're all like, they're horror fans, which is a very specific type of person. And it's so fun. It's a different vibe because like Boy
Yeah.
Meets World fans are for the most part, very family friendly. Like it's people that grew up with the show, people that now have their own kids. They're just, they like things that are comforting and if they're diehard fans of Boy Meets World, they're usually fans of shows that make them feel good about the world. And Cabin Fever makes you feel bad about the world. That's the point of Eli Roth movies.
That
Is
that's true, but it also
horrible.
entertains you.
Oh, it's
Right?
entertaining, but it's not there to make you feel like, there's no lesson to be learned. Or actually, there's a lesson to be learned. It's that everybody's horrible. So yeah, I mean that it's like I couldn't have gone farther in terms of worldview or the philosophical takeaway of what I was starring in, and I loved it. It's Cabin Fever is actually closer to my sensibility, not in worldview, but in terms of I like film more than I like television. So that was it made me so happy to be making a movie because I still really like movies more than TV shows. And then yeah, horror. I love dark stuff and I love gore. Like working with gore is some of the funnest stuff in the world. Like when you have
Oh
fake
yeah.
blood, I'm so happy. We were just all about the makeup and the fake blood. I mean, I was a big Fangoria subscriber when I was a kid. Like I love all that stuff. So yeah.
So like because Ryder, I don't know if you know this, but I'm also a celebrity myself.
Hmm.
I'm not as high as you. I'm like
Hmm.
on the F list. But what I'm
Uh,
saying is I did a horror film and I thought, holy Lord, this is gonna be great because I could do these horror cons like you,
right.
sign autographs and then sell tickets to my stand up because that's all I really want to do is stand up.
Right.
So I filmed it and then I found out they cut me out.
No.
Yeah, and I was like, "You mother a-holes!" Like I wanted to
Uh,
do this, like so
yeah.
I could be like sit in the
See,
booth with you and just
this
be
is the
like,
problem with being an actor, man. You're at the mercy. This is why I don't act anymore. You can't control it, It's like, oh, I mean,
even
even
if you
worse.
die in a movie in like 10
Oh,
seconds, people love you. You're like,
even no, even worse is if you're in a movie and then it's really bad, but you still got to go promote it. Like being an actor is rough, man.
"Oh my
Like
God."
you have no control. You never know. You never know what that finished product is going to be. You're just kind of a tool for the storytelling, unless you're, obviously a huge movie star and you have the creative power, the ability to say like, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do. For the most part, most actors, we're just showing up and auditioning and taking what we can get, and that it's a roll of the dice.
Do you like voice acting more now or like
I don't do voiceover that much anymore. I wish I could do more. I it's super fun. It's easy. Yeah, I love it. I love it. But I haven't done a show for a while. I did a cartoon. It's been probably like 4 or 5 years since the last cartoon I did. Will does it all the time and he's so good at it. I don't have the kind of control, like I'm a very sort of out of control actor. Like I don't, a way to put it is like, I don't have great control of my instrument. So like you ask Will to like be a certain character and he like knows how to talk into the mic and do this thing with his throat and finds this, and I'm like, I just show up, I do a version of me. If a character's supposed to be feeling something, I just kind of go for it. So I don't think I make the best voiceover actor for a lot of jobs, but for the right job, it's so fun, man. It's
yeah.
great. Yeah.
Now, Ryder, I want to respect your time, but I have two more questions. Could I
Yeah.
ask these?
Of
Or
course. Shoot.
okay.
Yeah.
So, you did a movie called The Secret Pact, and you had a couple scenes with
Mm.
John Hurd,
Hmm.
and I think John Hurd is one of the best character actors of all time. And I
Hmm.
just want to know, like, when you were making that, like, did you get the sense, like, oh my God, this guy's a legend, or did you figure that out after he passed?
Um, my experience, John Hurd did not want to be there. That was
Okay.
my experience.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't get to work that much with him. He was, I don't know what was going on. Maybe, I mean, I don't think it was a very good movie, and maybe he just knew that and was just there for the paycheck. But I mean, yeah, I remember being excited to meet him and to sort of see him work, and he was not into it. So I don't blame him. Actor, like I said, actors show up. You don't always know, but so I don't know what was going on, but yeah, no, I do think he's a fabulous actor. But I just didn't get to know him very well. My experience, he was on his phone. He was trying to avoid talking to anybody as much as possible, just there to do his scenes. So that was
He's
my.
like, if this isn't Home Alone 4, I'm not
What am I
interested.
doing here? Exactly. Why am I here? So yeah, I can't blame him. I have no idea what was actually going on.
My friend wrote a movie called Would You Rather, and
Mm,
he told me that they spent all the budget on John Hurd,
wow.
and he didn't want to be there, so they had to kill him first. So like, I was like,
See, actors get grumpy, man. It's hard. Like I mean, this is kind of the bummer. Like I remember as a kid working with so many adult actors, male actors in particular, who were just not happy. Like they were very grumpy people. And I think, part of that is you just get burned out. You get burned too many times where you pour your heart into something, you pour your expressive capabilities, your body, your voice, your brain, your heart, you pour it into something and then you get cut
right.
or it turns out to be awful or whatever. It just never gets released. Who knows? And I think when you've done that so many times, you can get very cynical and yeah, it sounds to me like he just kind of reached that point.
But is that something that you kind of learned? Because, like, I've been talking to you for 45 minutes. You're my best friend now.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know,
We got a sitcom coming up
we got a
together. Yeah.
sitcom. It's getting greenlit. But I get a sense from you that, and you don't have to go into it, but I get a sense that you've been burned in your life,
Hmm.
and,
Hmm.
you're kind of happy-go-lucky. So, like, is
Hmm.
that something that you just learned to accept and let
Oh,
go?
I
Because
just
I don't.
stopped acting. No, I just stopped acting. I mean, this is why
Oh,
I don't. Yeah, I wanted to feel good about myself. Like acting was making me feel bad about myself more
right,
than it was making me feel good. And, I think at like the age of 30, like right around the age of 30, I stopped auditioning and took acting classes for the first time since I had been 14, 15, and really fell in love with I discovered what acting actually is, what it means to be an actor, what I think it means to be an actor, how much variety there is in the different ways to approach the craft. And I love all of that. I just don't want to do it myself. I like working with actors. I like being around actors, but the life of an actor, the life of going to auditions, not getting parts, getting rejected constantly, yeah, it takes a certain uh, tough skin, and I just don't have it. My wife does. She's an actor. She's been an actor since she was 22, working professional. Now has moved on to writing, directing, and producing, but still
right.
will go on an audition if it comes her way. Like she just still loves the acting. Like that still animates her. It still excites her, and she'll take the rejection. She'll go on the audition, and she'll be fine. Like she manages to get back up. I just become a puddle on the floor. I'm like, why don't you like me? So I don't have what it takes. I don't have what it takes to be an actor. In lifestyle wise, it's not even a question of talent because I don't even know what that means. But it's a matter of like, do you have the tough skin or whatever it is that's gonna keep you going to be an actor? That part of me is gone. And I don't know, like I've given myself the option of like, maybe somewhere down the line I could do a play and it'll all come back. But for now, I really I found other ways to be in the industry. I love writing, I love teaching. Teaching in a way gives me a lot of the same actor vibes. Yeah, I get to
Oh
get
no,
up.
for sure.
Yeah, you get to get up and talk and engage and entertain people, but it's about ideas. It's not about somebody else's ideas. It's about sharing my thoughts or that stuff I love. So I guess I've just pivoted to channel whatever it was that was animating me to be an actor now animates me to be a creative in other ways, and I'm much happier for it.
Well, we're gonna get your love back when
When
our
the sitcom, yeah.
sitcom comes out. You're gonna be like, this is what I'm. And then in the meantime, I'm gonna have you be my opening act on the road at stand up. I'm
Oh
gonna teach
God, no!
you.
Don't
Oh,
make me do stand
okay,
up. Don't make me
okay.
do stand up.
Never mind. I won't do that. But I think you would be great at it. But
No, I'll give a lecture before you come on. I'll bore them out. I'll bore them with screenwriting thoughts, and then you come in and kill. It'll be perfect. Yeah, no, I could
uh,
never do stand up. I would be so bad at it.
I think you would be great.
Thanks, man, but no.
But my last question for you, Ryder,
Mhm.
is and that you this is like a philosophy type question, I guess. But if you
Great.
if you could go into a time machine, right,
Mhm.
and talk to a younger version of Ryder Strong, it could be
Hmm.
from yesterday or when you were a kid, whatever, what advice or what would you tell yourself?
Oh, man. I feel like I've already kind of answered that by saying, don't try and be such a dramatic actor. Um, but no, I think there's probably a better answer. I think I had I had this weird experience of I looked very young for a long time. Like, and I part of that was because I had been on Boy Meets World and everybody sort of knew me as a teenager. That throughout my 20s, um, I felt like I was still auditioning in my early 20s. I was still auditioning to be a high schooler and everything. Um, and I felt like the way I was treated by the world sort of kept me young in a way. And I I think I took too it's this weird thing. Because I was a kid actor and because I started working and making money and I had my own apartment at 16. In so many ways, I was very mature early.
Right.
Uh, and then I kind of like stopped. And I feel like I got stuck. So I would go back to like 22-year-old Ryder and say, uh, dude, you're a grown up. Like, just go do what you want to do. I felt like I was preparing to like grow up all the way up until I was 40. And I would have like I think I would have been better off if I just accepted that I was a grown up way, and I guess part of that's probably a holdover from being the youngest person in a group of adults all the time on a set. I always felt like the kid who was lucky to be there all the way up until in my 30s. And that's like kind of ridiculous, actually. Like by the time I was 25, I had more on-set experience than most of the crews I was working with or
Right.
directors I was working for, but I didn't know that. I sort of still felt like I was lucky to be there. So I would definitely, I think I'd go back and be like, you're an adult now. Go, just go do the things you want to do. You don't need permission from anybody. Just go do it.
Wow.
Because
That,
now I feel that, but I'm 45, so
that's a great answer.
yeah.
I'm so glad you didn't say Ryder. If Keith Reza asks you to do his podcast, say
Don't
no.
do it.
Where can the folks at home follow and support you unless you don't want to be following
Yeah,
or
no, I'm mostly it's Pod Meets World, the podcast that I've been doing with the guys with the Will and Danielle. That's been my main social media stuff. I do have Instagram, but I never post anything. But go ahead and follow me and send me a message. That's kind of the only social media I'm on. And then otherwise, yeah, just, writing and teaching, and hopefully I'll be getting stuff out into the world, whether that's more podcasts or novels or hopefully movies if I can get some studio to give me money. But
well, if
yeah,
I sell my sitcom, you're in it, buddy. So
sounds
don't
great.
worry. Ryder, hey, thank you
Yeah,
so much. I know you don't
of
do a
course.
lot of interviews, but thank you for saying yes to me, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, have a
All
great
right.
day, Ryder
Yeah, you
Strong,
too.
and we'll talk later, buddy.
All right, sounds good.
All right, guys, that was the episode of Ryder Strong. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on Reza Rifts.